All right, hello everyone. So here we are with Zansin versus Maebari uh, for the round of 4 in the Summit der Langrisser Season 6. So we have Zansin first pick, Maebari second pick. They are firing right off with Lucretia ban on from Maebari on Zansin's side, Rosin ban out of Zansin. Maebari already has a Christiane in his box. We'll see if that actually gets picked or not. Anything interesting in Zansin's box? We have Leonhardt with his new 3C. Going to be very nice seeing as Zansin's player 1 this game if he goes for that. We have a King Crimzo. We've got Reen. Reen actually a bit unusual nowadays. Has kind of taken a back seat in most boxes. So it looks like Zansin's playing more towards a hard AoE debuff style. And so, you know, Reen, Leonhardt, Neo, Rainforce, all making their reappearances. I have a first pick Lucretia from Maebari after banning the Hilda. Both Jugler and Bernhardt not really going to want to be into this Lucretia. Both of them can struggle. So Zansin's just going to not pick a tank. I'm just going to pick Reen. I don't think I've ever actually even seen a Lucretia hit a Reen to know if it works or not. I don't know. It could. We'll see. Reen very frequently tends to be physically bulky. Magic bulk, not as much. But then Steel Wings are OP, so... I think off terrain, though, you should be fine, especially with a Bernhardt buff. I feel like Lucretia should still pick up that kill. On Maebari's side, we have a fairly heavy Empire box. Christiane actually is Empire, though she'll always bring her own faction buff anyways. Looks like fairly heavy AoE debuffs here as well. A lot of dark emphasis. The Bozel, Kruger. Whereas Zansin's side looks a little bit heavier on AoE damage as opposed to debuffs. Alright, this Leonhardt's not really doing any debuffing. King Crimson doesn't really do any debuffing. King Crimson, that's a JoJo's character, isn't it? King of the Red Moon is his actual name. That's the one. There we go. I figured it out eventually. Tree Sage, buff 1-2. Yeah, that's not bad. Tree Sage's actual tiles aren't going to have crazy utility here. All these units are grounded. They will slow down like an Alta Mueller if it gets picked, so that's pretty reasonable, especially if you're tankless at Zansin. This Alta Mueller can actually cause you a lot of problems. It just, he just runs in and kills 2 things. That's not good. See you later, Alta Mueller. That's not going to happen, though. He's mythical, right? I don't actually know that. I'm gonna look that up. But I feel like he's mythical. I feel like he should be mythical. So it looks like we're gonna get almost a full mythical box out of Zansin. Could actually be full mythical team if he gets the burn or the Boza last pick. What? Okay, apparently his name is... What? Oh my gosh. I can't find him. There he is, Lord of Crimzo. Okay. Yeah, he is mythical. Okay. Confirming what I already thought. He is mythical. We do have a Helena last pick, Helena. There's a Christiane as the tank for Maebari. Helena should do pretty okay damage into that, just because it's going to be an infantry Christiane. She will bring phalanxes, very likely, so Helena's not going to kill her. But the AoEs after the attack are definitely going to poke a lot of damage through onto this Christie. And we actually get a Hilda as well, as opposed to Kruger. Yeah, player 2 Kruger into Rosin is just completely worthless. So he's going to elect for Hilda. He has a Empire buff, so this Hilda is open to bring... You can bring an extra guard skill if you really want to. Maybe overwrite some Tree Sage tiles with... maybe overwrite Tree Sage tiles with it, but you're also open to bring, like, Route. You can bring, you know, Broken Spear and Ram if you want. Definitely a lot of options for this Hilda. Dominating Formation is the one you usually see in this scenario, just for a second guard skill. Yeah, Route's pretty useless because there's a Rosin here. Yeah, it's going to be Dominating Formation at the end of the day. So, potentially able to overwrite some Tree Sage tiles, but there's no one who cares about Tree Sage tiles. Those are just for Zansin's units to get a little bit of extra mobility. The Hilda is going to be a lot safer than the Christiane versus this Helena as well. It kind of looks like on Zansin's side of the field, what Zansin's really looking to do here is probably like, you know, get some Reen 3Cs, maybe get some heal blocks or reversals. At some point, jump in with jump in with Lord of Crimzo, get that heal reduction on everyone. Maybe Lord of Crimzo goes first and then follow with Reen. Basically just get the heal reduction, sit on top of this team, and then Helena jumps in and explodes and finishes off like, you know, 1, 2, 3 units kind of deal. I think that's what Zansin's going to be looking for. Whereas Maebari's basically just going to play Protect the Lucretia, if we're being honest. Right, it's a healer, a support, for a faction buff for Lucretia. That does do decent damage, decent single target damage. So Bernhardt's not going to be irrelevant. But then 2 tanks, it's very much just going to be Protect the Lucretia. Actually, Christie opts for Highland Warriors here. That feels very risky into a Helena. I don't know if you get straight up one shot, but yikes. Alright, we have our 5-star Christie. So she is ready to revive now. Black Hole, Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, see, there's the Reen, but again, the magic defense is just, it's not that high. Highlands, as opposed to Steel Wings on the Reen, I feel like Highlands are going to get you less bulk against the Lucretia, though this Lucretia did go Firebrands. So the Lucretia expected flying troops on both of these units, and then they both went infantry, and that's actually going to cost her a lot of damage. These Firebrands are going to be basically worthless this game. Especially since, like, you know, the Reen is fixed immune, so who cares? This Rosin's fixed immune. Firebrands aren't going to be able to kill Second Life on King of the Red Moon. Licorice did not bring an AoE skill either. So no AoE, no transform, which means that, you know, you can take a life off of this Rainforce. But after that, he's just, you know, he revives and then he goes untargetable and Maebari can't touch him. Maebari doesn't have anything that touches him. No AoEs here, no AoEs here, no AoE here. So he's just going to kind of sit there and give you 50% heal reduction. Yeah, we do see dominating formation on the Hilda. No surprises there. That's a Tenuous Breeze. Yikes. That's a Tenuous Breeze on the Reen. The Reen hasn't transformed yet, but he gets to carry the 2 turns of Tenuous Breeze when he does transform. Yeah, that's just really good. Now he can go, like, camp out on a forest. He can hang back and still have plenty of movement to reach the team to hit them all with 3C. That's a really bad Tenyo's Breeze for Maebari. That's funny, this Lucretia is wearing the skill hat. That's one you don't see very often. So, I guess it does protect against heal reversal from Reen on one person sometimes. Licorice with the double defensive spells, since she has a faction buff coming from Christie. So she's able to go double defensive here, get plenty of immunities in the face of this Reen, just trying to make these debuffs hurt a little bit less. I do have a Rosin Ice Dragon Breath. I don't know if this is going to end up being relevant, but I appreciate it being here. So Zansin does have some units in range of this Lucretia, but they're both revive units, so he just doesn't really care if they get attacked here. Though taking a life off of Rainforce early is actually not bad, because you'll trigger his Moonshadow immediately, and then when he goes in, he'll lose it as soon as he goes in. So that's definitely worth considering. Yeah, that's what Maebari's going to do, is he's just going to not do any damage because Firebrand's into Highlands, but he is going to go ahead and pop that Moonshadow. So now it's on a long cooldown. Once this Rainforce engages, he's going to immediately lose that untargetability, and he's just going to like die to Bernhardt instantaneously. Yeah, Miracle came out before that. It's worth noting that Maebari did have it. Did Miracle come out first or Transform? No, Miracle came out first. Yeah, the first action was Miracle. So there wasn't really any chance for this damage to ever go through. And Tree Sage just drops a 3C in the middle of the map, just because. Get a little bit of AoE damage, maybe force out a heal if this Bernhardt's feeling particularly spooked. Oh, this Bernhardt got a breeze. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not quite enough to reach King of the Red Moon. Yeah, he could almost certainly kill him from there if he could have reached. Needed one more mobility. Needed to be wearing Apex boots. Helena range, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Helena's in range to hit a whole bunch of things at this point. This puppet actually needs to be a little bit careful of getting Helena dunked. Or dunked here, yep. That's gonna hurt a bit. And everyone explodes. Ouch. Alright. Reasonable damage on everyone, though not like excessive amounts of damage. Does have this heal reduction aura set up. Back to full HP himself, thanks to just hitting everyone here. And could not camp on a forest, okay. So now do we see Licorice heal in preparation for this Helena engaging? This Puppet is in a lot of danger. I think Puppet's gonna die for certain. Bernhardt himself might drop. Although Helena would have to get to here. Could she reach that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Helena cannot quite hit here, which is where she would want to hit. But at the same time, can Zansin afford to wait until next turn? Probably. He has turn priority. There's going to be a heal coming out no matter what. He can't really stop that. So he could wait one turn and try and get Helena to collapse in the middle. Although now that tile's closed off. It's going to be very hard for this Helena to actually hit the burn. Yeah, she's just going to go in where she is. And we'll see how much damage this does. And then next turn we have Reed 3C to get dropped on top of this before Maebari gets a chance to respond. Hilda does have the tank priority, so is going to be Hilda getting pulled in as opposed to Christy. This puppet is dead. This puppet is dead at the start of the turn. To anything. The Rainforce can do a black hole and kill the puppet. Much more likely this Reen engages first, just so Rainforce can keep this heal reduction for as long as possible. So puppet dies, but really nothing else at that point. And at that point, Zansin's kind of full committed all his resources. Maebari might just have enough to take all of this. Right, the Helena's got nothing left, basically. There's a single black hole here, there's a single 3C here. If that's not enough to just kill Maebari, then Zansin's in a whole lot of trouble. Alright, there's the Reen. Reen button, go! That's a good heal reversal. Silence doesn't really matter. Attack down. Passive block is very good. Yeah, that's going to be enough. Especially with this heal reversal, that's definitely enough. That was a big Reen hit. That was actually a lot more damage than I expected off of that Reen. Holy shit! That Reen has 1700 attack. What the actual hell, Zansin? Okay. We have discovered why that Reen hit did so much damage. My god. I don't think I've ever seen that high attack on a Reen. Especially not with, like, almost 1k defense. I mean, that was like 12k HP, 1700 attack, almost 1000 defense. That's obscene. And then, yeah, the heal reversal on Licorice just kind of sealed the deal. If Licorice hadn't been heal reversaled, maybe Maebari can make something happen. At that point, none of his units are adjacent for Rainforce to poke them with fixed damage. Right, the fixed damage isn't going to do too much. So maybe at that point you can take the black hole and recover. But not with a heal reversal on Licorice, and not when all your units take like 50% to a single Reen AoE. That's absurd. That is a well-built Reen. So we'll see if anything comes out of the backup box. I would be kind of surprised if anything came out of the backup. These boxes feel pretty solid on both sides. Yeah, Reen giving 30% damage when transformed is, of course, absolutely fantastic. This unit is just good in general. But still, there's a huge difference between, like, a 1200, 1300 attack Reen. Holy. Okay, Zansin. There's a huge difference between a 12 and 1300 attack Reen and a 1700 attack Reen with that damage up. And that wasn't just attack Reen, because there are definitely Reens that, like, you know, they have Apex boots and they go all in offense and they don't have as much bulk. But, like, that was a bulky Reen who also had 1700 attack. Zansin completely switches up the box, though. Brings in, what was that, 5 units? Yeah, 5 units, going way more aggressive. Brings in his own Altmueller, brings in Sherry, brings in a Werner. So a lot more assassination potential. Ares is here as well. So it looks like he basically pivoted from mythical to pure empire for the most part. Which is a pretty huge pivot. We do actually have a big pivot from Maebari as well. Pulls out a couple of healers actually. Brings in a Mew, brings in Ares, and then Tree Sage and Jugler is kind of like an AoE, more of a strong AoE answer, and then Zansin just kind of removed all his AoE. So that backup box switch probably didn't work out in Maebari's favor. We see a first pick flow from Maebari. I guess if you want a pure healer, quote unquote, a healer that can deal with debuffs, he has to first pick it. Mew can do plenty of healing. She just can't handle debuffs at all. This is also a very good Mew map. I'm actually a little bit surprised to see such an early pick flow. I guess he just really wants Act Again / Rush pressure as player 2, but he lost a lot of damage for doing it. Meanwhile, Lucretia Kyra over on Zansin's side, just long-range mages to be obnoxious. Probably gonna get like a burn pick at this point, maybe a Werner. We do have Kruger coming out for Maebari. I don't think Zansin cares. Zansin lost all his healers. I don't think Zansin cares at all. Does pick the Jugler to slow down any AoE damage that could come out from like the Kruger, the Ares, the Helena. But I think Zansin's kind of playing this in a way, playing this much more aggressively, kind of like I do, where he just says, oh no, my healers got banned anyways, and then goes and kills the enemy before it matters. That's what this box looks like it's set up to do. Maebari brings the Tree Sage. Tree Sage not doing a whole lot here. Buffs the Kruger, I suppose. But at this point, like, if Zansin bans the tanks, Lucretia's going to be a huge threat. Altamuller could be a potential huge threat. Bernhardt buffs here and here at the very least. I guess gives a buff for Ares if you want to count Ares being buffed. The Tree Sage does slow down these three from the backup box. So we do get the Bernhardt pick. That was pretty expected. Get a faction buff here, faction buff for units in the back. But this Tree Sage actually does pretty good at stopping all three of these units. Kind of shaky on like Altamuller and Sherry, but definitely hard shuts down the Ares, although Ares is the ban from Maebari. Yeah, Altamuller could struggle to get in on the Tree Sage, though he can ground himself. He does have infantry movement troops that he can use to get around the Tree Sage in exchange for giving up a little bit of mobility. So it will be the Altamuller. Hilda is the tank for Maebari. To go with that flow, very nice. And we're going to have almost certainly an Ares for Maebari. I don't imagine you bring Rosin here. Right, if you bring Rosin here, you just have Kruger for damage, and that's just not going to be enough, even without a healer on Zansin's side. Yeah, and there's the Ares. Ares with a faction buff. I guess he could have the new exclusive, so that he has, you know, a little bit of a damage up on regular attacks when he has a faction buff. But that's not the issue with Ares faction buff. The issue with Ares faction buff is that your 3C sometimes just doesn't work. You have to be very, very careful with faction buffed Ares to not just lose your attack buff when you engage. So I don't expect Maebari will make that mistake. of accidentally engaging Ares without a buff. But it's definitely going to give Zansin just one extra opening into Maebari's side. It's just there's going to be a turn where the Ares is essentially dead. On Zansin's side, Altamüller has a faction buff, and that's terrifying. It's just terrifying. So, let's see if Maebari's able to address that. Altamüller can just be such a huge threat on his own, because if you just kind of sit there and wait for the guard to go down, and then Altamüller goes in, sucks up a whole bunch of people, and then just kills 2 of them. There's not really much that you can do about that if you're Maebari. So you have to be very careful about Hilda's guard timing, making sure that that's not going down at a point when Altamüller can just come in and kill you for it. You know, maybe you use Flow Act again in order to get Hilda's guard just back up on that turn. Just try and keep this Altamüller down. This Flow is going to be a very valuable tool for Maebari, that's for certain. Zansin has a Lucretia, but there's not really an abundance of targets for her. Could potentially go after Kruger, but if he's shielded, she's probably going to fail that. Ares brought Angel, so you're probably going to fail that. Especially with Tree Sage sitting here. It's going to be very hard for this Kyra to get kills. Ares did bring AoE here, which means he's probably not going to ever kill this Altamüller. So actually, if you're Zansin, this Altamüller looks just about unkillable. If he just kind of starts walking forward. So you can definitely use that to pressure. We have Steel Mains on the Jugler, because the only thing that could potentially be hitting him is Ares. Kruger is definitely the juiciest Kyra target. It's hard to know if it'll even work. Yep, there's the Altamüller. He's just going to go hang out over here. You can't do anything about it. Who's going to hit him? Basic attack Ares? Basic attack Kruger? No. Nothing's killing this Altamüller. The ulti did go flyer troops, so he will be slowed down by the Tree Sage, but Tree Sage can only cover one angle of attack. So if you just force out the Tree Sage 3C, then Altamüller can just kind of go to the bottom. Right? If Tree Sage 3C is the top, Altamüller goes to the middle, goes to the bottom. If Tree Sage 3C is the middle, Altamüller goes to the top. Very hard to actually stop him entirely. Zansin could go for Kruger at the beginning of turn 2. Is there a mass attack? This Kyra would have Gospel at that point. Yeah. If you're gonna go for it, that's probably your best opportunity. Looks like it is a True Cross Kyra. Definitely not Twilight Star for certain. Could be Dimensional Jewel, but it's probably True Cross. It's just this Kruger has a faction buff. He has this aura. Right, he has Tree Sage aura. He can't be crit either because of the Hilda. It's very, very hard to actually kill this Kruger here. No Faith on Kyra. I don't think Faith would matter. I think you just don't get this kill, if I'm being honest. Especially not in Hilda aura, with no guaranteed no crit. I really feel like you just fail this kill. If you get it, it'd be like an exact kill. She is going to set up to threaten it, and that might be enough to just, you know, spook the flow into act again on Kruger to give him a chance to move away, to shield himself, something. But I don't think you... I think if you're Zansin, I don't think you go for this immediately. I think you maybe push the Jugler up, try and get in a more forward position so that, like, when Kyra engages, she can jump back to Jugler range. So where could she hit him from? Like here? 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so she could hit him from like here and then jump back 3, which is not quite in guard. Hilda went for instant guard because this Altamura was threatening to just kill the entire team, so she kind of had to. Lucretia actually just completely yeeted herself out of existence in response to getting Kruger debuffed. She has no interest in being here for a while. There's the act again, but it's actually act again just to push the ulti away. Check for a clock. There's the clock. Okay. So this ulti can't get in for a little while. Maebari really needed that clock though, because without that clock, ulti just kind of comes down to the bottom. Oh, wow, that is enough. Okay, there we go. I've been proven wrong. Good faceless. Made it through. Ah, he lost this. That's actually a big deal. And Maebari just concedes to that. At that point, no Kruger, it's just Ares damage. Why bother? It's not going to be enough damage to win the game through this Jugler anymore. He needed those debuffs. The big thing was that Tree Sage moved forward and removed the aura from Kruger. Kruger did not get the 15% damage reduction. With that extra damage reduction, Kruger doesn't die there. Because it was like 25k damage onto the Kruger and he had 23k HP. With that extra 15% damage reduction, he lives that. It was because that Tree Sage moved his aura out of range that Kruger could not survive anymore. So yeah, because he didn't have that aura, he ended up dying, and since that was basically Maebari's only way to win was to get like acid burns onto the team, get 3C onto the team, get Ares onto the team. Kruger dying in the first flow. There's nothing that he can do at that point. You know, he can counter kill the Kyra with Ares, maybe. But then what? Right? Then Altamura kills his Ares, then he actually has no damage. So that was a very quick 2-0 from Zansin. I guess that's it. So, see you guys next time. Zansin will be moving on to the finals. We'll see. I believe we have not had the other round of 4 game, so we do not know who his opponent is just yet. Maybe. But stay tuned in the TSDL Discord to see whenever that match goes up and whenever the finals go up. Shouldn't be too long now. Till next time, I'll see you guys later.